Welcome to another episode of Digital for Everyone, a weekly live stream that aims to demystify the digital world one episode at a time. My name is Robert Zigans, I'm your host, and this whole month of October we are focusing on the digital issues facing creatives in this COVID time. And hi, Rupa Boutique. And I thought it was very poignant to give creatives a chance, give them as much information and share as much information as we could with them, because creatives, I think, in Trinidad are suffering pretty uniquely, because Trinidad was such an event-based space in a country that for these people to go almost more than a year, welcome Caroline Fage, more than a year without really having any jobs, any work, that's a real problem. So Simon Baptiste, I'm very glad we have Simon Baptiste here with us, and he's going to be talking to us about surviving 2020 in the creative industry. And I know I dedicated October to creatives, but there's really so many facets to creativity. You know, we started with music with Brave Boy, we moved on to fashion with James Hackett under the Lush Kingdom, but we could go on to tons of aspects of the creative field that we just can't cover in 1 month. So I'm gonna bring Simon on board, and I'm very happy to have him, guys. Thanks for coming in. You guys are prompt. Wow. Simon, sir.
Whoa, how you doing, brother?
Not too bad. And yourself?
I'm good.
Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule. Give me a mild heart attack to tell me that you would that it was tonight. So thanks for that. I appreciated it. So let me just do your quick little intro before I hand it over to you. But guys, so Simon, for those of you who don't know, you guys look like a lot of the names are not super familiar. So I think Simon, you have your whole cheering squad here, but Simon is the co-founder and CEO of Question Mark Entertainment. He's considered a pioneer in the creative industries, helping guide and shape performers and the industry along the way. He's helped produce calendar staples like Tuesday on the Rocks and the Decibel Arts and Entertainment Festival. Now, I got your bio from your assistant, and you're one of the few people I know that have an assistant, so that means you are very important already. And it's massive. You've touched on a lot of things. There's you worked in Jamaica with acts like General Degree, Red Rat, and stuff like that. You worked with Question Mark Entertainment. It's not just Kesty Band. There's Tessan, there's MX Prime, Nadia Batson. Setting up collaborations with Will Smith, Snoop Dogg. I could go on and on, guys. I could spend half of the thing introducing Simon, but I think the key thing here is that, Simon, I know that I came to you and I said, I know if there's anyone who has that top level view of knowing and understanding what creatives in this industry are going through and giving them some ideas on how to survive it, it would be you. So I want to hear kind of like, it's COVID, we're in Trinidad and there's basically no events for the foreseeable future, plus no carnival. Talk to me. Where's your head at? Where do we start in this conversation?
Well, I think that it's been a question I've been asked many times, obviously, in relation to where do we go from here. I think it differs for everyone. I mean, the fact is that there's so many different people affected, and the reality is that if you're talent, there has to be one way that you're going to approach this, and if you are someone who's involved in the business side of the field, you're going to have to look at other ways to make it work for you, right?
Okay.
So I think that it really just depends on how you look at it. If you're looking at it from the talent side, I think as a creative, whether you're involved in music, film, fashion, dance, or the arts, yes, you probably could feel defeated based on the fact that there are no real live events, etc. But that being said, there are a multitude of platforms that exist out there that you can take advantage of as a creative and make it work for you, especially in this time.
Okay.
I mean, TikTok obviously comes to mind, and of course the one that we're on, Instagram. There are multiple ways to reach out to your audience and to expand your audience.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that will vary, of course, because if you are a comedian versus if you are a soca artist, for example,
Right.
How you approach it has to be different. But there are things you could do, podcast, and you can take advantage of the technology that exists, and and make sure that it can work for you. The flip side to that, of course, is being someone who's involved in the business and knowing as a let's say as an event promoter, how do you now deal with this idea that you no longer have the physical space to operate in?
Right.
That being stated, I think that you can't ignore what others are doing abroad. In terms of, for example, the physical activities, drive-in, concerts, etc. There are ways that you can work around it, and I think that there are people within the ministries that you can reach out to that can help you figure out the best ways to go about it, as we had demonstrated by doing our own version of a drive-in.
Did that happen?
Months ago. Yeah, we did. We did a drive-in. It was on a small scale, and it was charity based. It was basically as part of UE's Global Giving Fund. Okay. So our situation was a little bit different because you actually sell tickets as part of a charity. So you could sell out, but then whether people actually want to show up or not is a whole different issue, right? So I think depending on what you're looking at, I guess my point is that you can still do something. And then, of course, from online, we've seen, for example, oh my God, I just forgot the name of this huge event out in Europe.
Tomorrowland?
Tomorrowland. Yeah, where they went online and they created a platform where you could pay to be part of it.
We attended in my living room,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that the question is, whether or not, we can survive this. The question is really, what are you willing to do to adapt and innovate in order to be able to survive, this kind of winter that we're facing within the industry. And sometimes sometimes you're lucky, or I prefer to use the word blessed, or you may have a connection that can help with something. And for example, in one situation, we have a connection. His name is Arturo Martinez, and he helped hook us up with doing a live streaming event with Amazon Music. So
that was with the Soca Queens.
Yes, correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yes.
We built a show around Nyla, Nadia, and Patrice, and it was featured on Twitch, which again is another platform that exists out there that you can take advantage of. So there is a means to do it, but it is tough. I don't expect that it's going to be easy for any of us to move forward.
So just for anybody who's joined late, so what you're saying right now, or at least what I'm getting from it, is there are tons of platforms online, whether you've been using them or not. YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, which is now, I think Twitch was really, it started off for gamers, but more and more people are becoming, versed in it and reaching out on it. So in terms of that, it's innovate or die. Really.
Yeah,
and creatives, I think, are uniquely positioned to be creative. You don't always have the unlimited budget and stuff like that, and now you have to be creative with even less. Where do you see, I'm sure everybody's asked you this, but where do you see, let's say 6 months from now, we've passed Carnival, that hasn't happened, but how do you see this changing, I guess, the near term, and then the going forward 5-10 years from now kind of thing?
Right. Well, the carnival thing has me a little bit angry and frustrated, but not for the reasons I guess people may think of. It
Let's hear
wasn't
it.
so it wasn't so much that the Prime Minister said we weren't having a carnival. I mean, that was pretty much expected, and I think we always have to put lives first.
Of course.
It was the feeling that we often boast this is the greatest show on earth, right? And I kind of felt as if the statement that was made, and I understand the context of the conference, and he was being asked, and maybe he felt pressured or whatever. But I do feel as if this is or was an opportunity, and still is an opportunity. Let me say that we can prove to the rest of the world, why Carnival in Trinidad is the greatest show on earth, and owning that week, right? By demonstrating it virtually, and working in unison to develop not just the visual in terms of the online platforms, etc., but an interactive experience that's second to none. And we have the creators that can do it, right? Whether it's technology, app building, whether it's graphic art and design, whether it's film, of course, music, plentiful. So I kind of see it as the perfect time for us to show that we stand out, like we're years ahead of everyone else in terms of what we can produce.
So would you say that we took the or die option too easily then? Because if you look at it, so for example, Tomorrowland, same thing. Tomorrowland has, I think it's 250,000 people that attend it. That could rival Carnival. I'm sure we have those kinds of numbers. And they said, okay, well, we're going to innovate because people still want it. As opposed to, I guess what the message from the government was is like, listen, it's not happening. Full stop. Compared to what you're saying, which is, let's make something happen. We have the most creative carnival minds. Let's bring them together. Let's do something to show it on the world stage. Okay.
Yeah. I think we have the most creative minds, period.
For sure.
I mean, I think too often what we do is we tend to follow instead of lead, right? And that sort of mentality also has to change. And then the support from the diaspora has to come. It's one thing to have 3 or 4 million people, let's say on the outside, that have connections to their heritage, right? But it's another thing for them to actually go online and say, you know what, we are going to support this weekend, and then make a statement to the world. So I kind of feel that there are multiple levels in which this thing can be analyzed and looked at. But right now, it's almost as if we've become deflated because, all right, it's been put out there, there's no carnival. And now, instead of unifying us as a people, which I think was the golden opportunity of what we had, and really consulting the stakeholders to get us engaged in something where it's like, look, we normally spend, the government would say, let's say we normally spend, I don't know, 200 million on carnival, but this year we're going to spend 50 million, and this is what we're going to do, or you guys are in charge, and we don't operate in these silos, because what I think is going to happen, and I'm not saying names to offend people.
No, of course,
but I do think that, I'm sure it'd be a much more sensationalistic show if we did that. But
all names.
What I think will happen is that there are going to be those groups that are going to end up doing something on that weekend or on those days. And unfortunately, by this group doing X and this group doing Y and this group, it could end up being this muddled mess, as opposed to, let's all work together. I know where your strengths are. Right? Yeah. Your tribe. So tribe, this is what I want you guys to do. You know what I mean? And basically, we kind of keep on, finding where those strengths lie, and we let people be in charge of their areas, and we're going to attack it that way. you know.
So, okay, yeah, I mean, so basically the enemy of my enemy is my friend. We're no longer competitors anymore. We all have to work together to survive COVID. I like it because I really thought you were going to say basically some entities are just not going to exist. They're not going to be able to survive the year wait that we have to. They can't just go into hibernation, you know.
Right.
But interesting outcome that you are, I guess, foreseeing. If people really go in that direction of I'm going to do this and you're going to do that, and hopefully, you know, we all make it out together. Okay. Do you think there's a chance for? I mean, we are in October, November, December, January, February. Do you think there's still a chance for something to happen in some sort of unified way?
Well, I would like to think so. I mean, you had a curious quote just now. You said the enemy of my enemy is a friend. I kind of look at it as more the frenemy of my frenemy.
Okay, all right.
Because we kind of have that tendency to hug each other and then basically, you know, bash each other, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I definitely think that there's opportunity here. And is it late? Yeah, of course. I mean, we were saying since April that this was a distinct possibility without a vaccine, a cure, a treatment. There wasn't going to be a carnival.
Right.
So we knew. We just kept on. It was that kind of hoping upon hope that
God is a Trinity.
Yeah, right. You know, and listen, no doubt there may be certain things that may happen between now and then that may be good for us. But
okay.
I think that the nature of what it is, yes, we can still produce something because we're that. I give us credit. I think we have that level of talent here on the island and off island that is willing to contribute as well.
Okay. And so that's the near term that we're talking about. But what do you see like? And this is not just for Carnival, but like, how do you see this shifting the creative industry for that generation, essentially? You know, I know that just from a finance point of view, I found that, well, the stats are saying that everybody's savings levels, at least in the US, were at like 8%, and they've gone up to 17%. So people are hoarding cash because obviously uncertainty is massive. How do you think this will impact the creative industry going forward? I mean, yes, everybody's going to save a bit more, but what else do you think is going to happen? I don't know, in terms of output or how they risk and things like that. I know it's a broad question, but it's, you know.
Well, I think it comes down to the individuals at hand and the teams that we have. From an individual standpoint, if you're someone who has a level of talent, this is not a time to sit down and mope. You know, you're going to have to, that idea of reflecting, that's past. What you should be on by now is, how do I take what I have and create something that the world, you know, is interested in? Because I think, and I'll just use soca music as an example.
Definitely.
And I want to make sure that the disclaimer here is that I do love soca music, and obviously I love, you know, what some, if not most of our artists are attempting to do.
Okay.
That being stated, right, we shouldn't, I think what we've discovered is that our music is seasonal. We've known it, but COVID has kind of
brave words there, sir.
Well, it's the reality. I mean, if you talk to, you're not going to get this answer from all the artists.
Right.
But what you are going to hear is that they're going to tell you, like, if you ask them, hey, what music are you coming out with for 2021, for example? And you'll hear a level of hesitation, right? And that hesitation is created why? Because we follow a season. I've been in this for 20 years. So I know what the pattern is, right? You launch at Carnival in Trinidad, right? And then you jump right from place to place. Now, we, unlike the pop artists, let's say, right, who have a 65-35% split of the income, where 65% is dealt through let's say, live performances, and 35% is through streaming,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
We are 95% of our stuff, right, is earned,
Mm-hmm.
right, through those live performances, and 5%, if so much,
Yeah.
right, via, you know, licensing, you know, streaming,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So that disparity alone tells you why the actual, why I can say with some level of confidence that we
Mm-hmm.
have depended on this as a seasonal thing, right?
Right.
And we've seen it. So now you have a situation where, you know, people are a little bit afraid to let out really great music, because if they let out great music and and COVID is still
Yeah.
rampant, there's nothing that they can see as the generation of income through that
Right.
music,
Right.
right? So it's better that, look, the thought process is, man, I best just hold back, because if
Right.
I hold back,
Mm-hmm.
right, and I know this is a great song, right, when it opens up again and I let loose this track, it's going to be this big hit.
Right.
So
Okay.
it is economics, but it's economics that's based on a season. I'm not saying it to upset anybody. We have to understand what the reality of this business is, and I've been managing and booking, you know, for a long enough time that I could tell you that is how you strategize. You go into the studio.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be a pattern like this. You go in studio, right? You know, July, August, September. You
Mm-hmm.
know, get your music and you release, depending on the type of artist you are, release September, October, you
Mm-hmm.
know, early enough, or maybe just a little bit later on. And then you see how the pattern, you know, evolves. And then you have Boxing Day when, you know, it's all coming out.
They
And then,
sort
of
of
course,
switch.
yeah, exactly. So we know what it is, you know, just living in a state of denial of, no, it's not seasonal. The Jamaicans have shown that what we have is seasonal compared to them, because I've toured with Jamaican artists on the same music,
Mm-hmm.
right, for 5+ years. The same
Right.
track that they had 5 years ago. Any soca artist who lets loose a song that does very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a reset button that's pressed, right?
Of
And
course.
when that happens, right, the problem for them is that, you know, if they don't have another hit 2 or 3 years down the line,
They're not
right,
getting books. They're not getting booked.
they're not getting the bookings,
Yeah.
right? Because the first question a promoter asks is, what hit do you have this year?
Right.
That's the cycle. So we need to think differently. And coming back to the point of
Mm-hmm.
COVID, we need to figure out how we can release music continuously,
Right.
right? And break into markets that go beyond the diaspora, because as much as I love my people, I know that my people would prefer to spend $11.99 on a Netflix subscription monthly, or an,
True.
you know, an Apple iTunes type thing, versus, you know, this great artist like Lyrical has you know, released an album. Go and buy his album. Go and buy Nyla
Right.
Blackman's album. You know,
So
so.
is it very much a we need to work on growing that 5% sort of streaming sales, that kind of thing, and consider how to expand that? Is that one of the thoughts for the artists, things like that?
I think that is definitely one thing that we will have to figure out, and it's a little bit more challenging, because I'm not an authority on this. I think Carolyn Paggi, my business partner, or even Therese Joseph could answer this question a little bit better. But so Therese has worked in the record label industry for, I think, 10 or 15 years. She's worked for Def Jam as well as some major labels, and she can tell you that I believe I want to say Spotify,
Right.
right? But there's some platforms that unfortunately they don't cater for the Caribbean,
That's true. Yeah.
right? So that you have to be within that geographical zone, I guess,
Right.
that in order to subscribe or to get the music. So we do have challenges, and
Right.
the only way to fix that is to maybe lobby, you know, those presidents and gatekeepers
Okay.
into understanding what it you know, it needs to happen. And in the case of Spotify, the president, I want to say the president or the vice president of artist relations over at Spotify, who also deals with the music, has been to Trinidad on a couple of occasions. So we've attracted them here. They've been here, they participated in Carnival, and we do have the links with them, but it can't just be I can't just be, okay, I represent, let's say, and I don't. Let's say I represent Nyla, right? Okay. You know, and that's actually Anson Soverall, Laurie, and O'Connor and that team. But my point is that if I'm going to him, I also need to go on a united front with other artists to demonstrate, look, these are all the artists. This is what we can generate. This is how it benefits your platform.
Okay.
You know?
So I had a point to make on that, is that you mentioned Netflix and Spotify. And the thing is, and Carolyn actually mentioned in the comments just now that Spotify is blocked here. And the thing is that I know people locally who would use the VPN to get around Spotify, who before Netflix was opened up here, they used the VPN to get into Netflix. So the demand is there, definitely. And, you know, I know people who are like, yeah, the only reason I don't really listen to local music is because it's not available on Spotify, which gives me everything else. You know, similarly, like Netflix, and Gael, you know, Gael, that whole thing. There's great, I'm sure there's great original content. I don't see it on the one platform that I go to because I get everything else there. So I think that point about the sort of unity, collective bargaining, almost a Caribbean musicians union or whatever, to show that, you know, while for Spotify, we're probably not tons of revenue, but, you know, opening it up opens up the world to everything else. One last point on that is I'll always chalk up Amazon's success to their willingness to take external credit cards.
Right.
Because, you know, as soon as you had a credit card in Trinidad, you were like, screw these stores. I'm going to be buying stuff on Amazon because it's, you know, half the price. And up until now, you didn't get caught with import fees. So I think the demand is there. I like the point that you were bringing up very early on. I know that, that people may have come in late, but for events, on the event side of things, innovation is key. As you said, you know, there's possible to, and this is just a recap, but it's possible to still have events, as you said, with like, you had a small drive-in charity event, you know, but obviously your thinking has to be upside down. You need to think, you know, how can I make something out of it, make it enjoyable, make a unique experience. And then on the artist side, you know, you're saying innovation again, and not focusing on the seasonality. Guys, if you have any questions, just shoot them out in the comments. Carolyn is saying they've been talking to Spotify to change it as they do features on our artists all the time. Well, hopefully, maybe, you know, this is the year that we break through. And Alexander Phoenix is saying support local on Apple Music. Okay. So long term, we're thinking major changes in how people focus their income, because you mentioned that, and I've heard this said before, that artists will release a song, and if it hits, they get to fly around the world on this one song for the season, and then they come back and they try to do it again. Nikki Milk is saying yes, but we Chinese don't need to Spotify to consume soca music. The point is to get the Caribbean diaspora living abroad to consume our products. Interesting point. Do you have any thoughts on that, about consumption in diaspora versus local?
Well, I mean, it's a very touchy subject for people, right? Because the reality is that the thing that the diaspora does well is that they find themselves here for Carnival. And they do spend a lot of money. I think the average per person works out to be around 2,000 US per person or something like that. Okay. So, I mean, you know, there are those great things that the diaspora does. But I think the problem is the way we've treated our music. And there's a history here that you really have to look at and investigate, right? When I grew up, the way soca music, and I'm speaking specifically to soca now, but I'll get into the other genres that we do have as well. But in terms of soca music, when Ash Wednesday came, when I was a teen, right, it was almost blasphemy to play that music beyond that time period, right?
Right. Yeah.
So for those who are much younger than I am, right, you may not know of that period in time, but literally, like if I made a mistake of playing a soca track during a period of Lent in my home,
Lex.
right, I would have been they would have beaten me silly, right? We for years inculcated this almost like a version to our own music once a certain period had arrived, right? And that had almost like reciprocal effects, right? In terms of our mentality and how we treated music. And what it did was, in a sense, with that shift from Carnival Tuesday to Ash Wednesday, it gave a place for us to foster growth of dancehall music, right?
Yeah.
So for 20 plus years, and even dating back to the years I was in secondary school, Ash Wednesday, the maxi taxis would come up the bend, and they're blasting dancehall music, right? Because it wasn't banned, right?
Right.
And so, not taken away from dancehall and reggae and how good it was or is, the reality is that we did that successfully for 20 years. So what we have now is what we have now is a youth population, right? That in some cases, I don't want to say most cases, but the surveys seem to reflect that, prefer local dancehall over soca music, right? And soca music has a time for them, which is carnival, but beyond that, they're when you ask them about what it is that they're favoring, the zesta local music is what they favor.
Yeah.
So I think that we've created our own monster, right, in that sense. And again, I also appreciate local dancehall music and I support the movement. But my point here really is to reflect on how our society, right, has created this situation where if you can understand why, young adults may not be on our soca music, we did that all by ourselves. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And we created that pattern so that, it's a challenge for soca music. And that's why it's great now that there are all these festivals that are dotted along the landscape, right? So that they go, once they're done here, they're in another country, and another country, and another country, and they're making that move. But here, what is happening? Once they've left here, what is happening in that period between, let's say February, March, and November, right?
Yeah. If they're not out touring, that's it. They're not making any money.
And then they're not necessarily developing anything new because they understand the strength of that track.
Right.
Is good enough to earn them that paycheck, in terms of the circuit. So again, this is not bashing our industry, it's not bashing the players, it's just understanding why the dynamic exists. And now that it's been revealed in a sense, because if you didn't believe it before, and if COVID still hasn't made you a believer, the reality is that we can't lament over it. We need to figure out how do we fix it. And part of fixing it is also considering the other genres that exist. There are brilliant singers and musicians that are involved in other types of music as well. Right. And we need to find ways of maybe collaborating. I see Niall Blackman recently did a song with Meds Boss, I believe, right? So, we need to find how we can make these opportunities that exist locally work for us. So that we keep on building and building and hopefully reaching out to the entire world. Okay, that's solid points there. We are coming close to the end of time, but I wanna give chance for you to recap the key points for like the creatives on both sides. So just going through the comments here, Socrates says most people in Trinidad are Samsung users. Yes, Socrates, I know somebody probably answered that already, but 80 to 90% of the market, if not more, is
Android users with a not flagship phone. So most of them don't actually have flagship phones. So that question about Apple Music may not apply to those phones. Question to Simon from Liana Joyce 89. Do we have a marketing issue as it relates to Caribbean products and services?
You want me to answer that?
If you can, I mean, how much time do we have?
I think you might be. Well, no, we have time. But what I would say to her is that I definitely think at times we struggle to understand our own product, and I also believe we don't get the kind of support from tourism that we should get. So what I mean by that is, I think it would be a lot more helpful, and I know we've merged tourism and culture and the creative arts now in the ministry, but it's the idea that sometimes you have to spend money to make money, and creating an ad, let's say, that allows us to not only feature our music, but you got to play these ads on national TV in the US and in Europe, right? You need to be able to take out full page ads representing our music and our culture in Billboard and other trades. You know, that investment, and this is not me saying that the government needs to hand out anything to us. This is just simply saying that I think the government can do our industry a great service if it does focus some of that spend on those big wins, because with that, you know, will create the awareness, and with the awareness, you're going to have executives who may be like, you know, every week I'm seeing this ad, or every other week, or once a month, or whatever it is about, you know, Carnival's culture, the music, whatever, and it shifts their attention, you know, somewhat to saying, all right, well, hey, let me go and find out more about this thing.
Yeah,
I think that needs to be considered. I think Arturo Martinez at once pointed out to me, he represents acts like Bad Bunny as a tour manager, and there are Latin countries who also basically the governments have funded tours, like promotional tours, right? And they basically state, okay, well, we're going to take a couple of emerging artists, right? A couple of other, you know,
more
established artists.
Right.
And we're going to do this tour, and we're going to combine our efforts with Live Nation. And basically, you know, you have 32 cities over a period of 3 months of the summer, you know, in the US. And then you have, you know, X amount of cities that may be in Australia or Asia. Oil and gas is a finite resource, people.
It is. Creativity is not.
But our people aren't. That's where the real resources are in our people, and we need to stop this kind of BS mentality that is going to last forever. It simply isn't. You know, we have to put our attention elsewhere.
Agreed. Simon, I think we could probably go on for another hour, but we are coming to the end of it. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise and your you know, your points of view. I think it's going to help a lot of people. I see the hearts are going crazy now, so you have some fans. Alexander Phoenix says he wants that painting behind you, so I don't know. You guys have some things to work out. Carolyn Page is saying Barbados was great at finding tours and using it as tourism tools. Yeah, at funding tours. Sorry, I got it. I see that. Great. So thank you very much. I just want to recap the points. If I miss anything, Simon, let me know. But in terms of event side, guys, if you're an event promoter or working in the event space, it is truly, there's an opportunity there. And Simon, you had mentioned that there are people in the government that they can reach out to for some sort of support like that. Who would they go to, or where would they go to?
Well, I would think there are two ways to do it. They can look at it either as an interior type event,
right,
which I think you at some point is going to ease up. So there are possibilities with Napa and, of course, Queen's Hall. And outdoor events, I think there are venues that are large enough, you know, like Queen's Park Savannah, you know, etc., where you can take advantage of the space and either create the drive-in field or you create markers like what they did in the UK.
I saw that. Very interesting.
Yeah, where they made some scaffolding guy very happy. And essentially, I think there are ways that we can do that here.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. And then on the artist side, it's a much broader thing where it has to be about not just innovation, but creation, and pushing the envelope and pushing the music out there regardless, because there are places that are opening up. JP Gans wants to know, when is part 2 to this discussion? Great question. Maybe we'll have a follow. Guys, Simon, thank you again so much, guys. If you want to catch this, we're going to upload it to the IGTV right after this, or it's going to be on our YouTube tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and all those cool things. I'm not much of a YouTube personality. But Simon, thank you again. Any last words to the team or to the people watching at home?
Well, first of all, to you, man, I think that what you're doing is great. I think it's necessary. So much love and appreciation to you and the effort that you put into this. I hope you can get more support for it, perhaps. And in terms of those who are watching, and I see a few familiar names, and enough love for my people and my family here. So thank you. I owe you some money for jumping online. It's an email. Thanks again.
Simon, are you doing payola for viewers? Is that what's going on?
It's the only way we know how in the entertainment industry, apparently.
Oh jeez. All right. Thank you very much. See you guys next week.
Take care. All the best.
Bye bye.